Incoming transmission. Pike transport designation Aldron 3296. It's inbound for Tatooine. Contents unknown. Suspected cargo. Spice. Mercenaries and other black market goods. Outlaws. Prepare to mobilize. Intercept the transport and secure the cargo. Let's go in quick and easy. Let's get home in time for a round of drink at Ma's place. Outlaw 1, out.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina, grab a drink, and settle in as we set course to realities beyond our own.
Today, we're going to be discussing one of the most recent game teasers, Star Wars Outlaws. Let's begin with a starter question. We'll start off with our sponsor, then we'll go into a starter question, but make sure you guys stick around towards the end. We might have some more news coming your way as well, which if you guys are Warhammer fans, we definitely have some news.
We would like to take a quick second to announce we have our first partnership. This company does not do sponsorships, so they're not paying us, but they are awesome, and we wanted to work with them anyway. Ultra Sabers is your one-stop shop for durable, combat-ready lightsabers. Each lightsaber is made out of lathed aluminum, and you can get replicas of many of your favorite lightsabers from the Star Wars universe. I myself got this lightsaber out of their mystery box, and I love it so much. It is the Dominic's LE V4 with a red blade. This hilt has a beautiful black anodize on it, and I even added some gold pinstriping to really make it my own. The lightsaber sits above my desk as a decoration, and it is the ultimate accessory to any Star Wars costume I make. I've purchased these as gifts before, and everyone I have given them to has absolutely loved them. When I was in college, some buddies of mine, we all bought Ultra Sabers, and we used to wait till dark, go outside, and just let our dark or light side nature take care of the rest, and we had such a blast. If you want to grab an Ultra Saber for yourself, you can use our creator code, TalkAboutTatooine10, which will be listed in the comments, for 10% off your order. Additionally, this is the cool part. You can become a Patreon where we will be giving away 2 mystery box sabers purchased out of our own pocket for 2 of our lucky patrons. All you have to do is sub to our Patreon and retweet our post on Twitter, and you will be entered to win one of 2 beautiful sabers. Now, back to the show.
All right, guys, we are starting off with our starter question. Andrew, what is your favorite Star Wars video game?
Fortnite. JK. I'm totally kidding. For me, it was definitely Empire at War. I really love RTS games, and Empire at War, especially Forces of Corruption, which was the expansion. I spent so many hours playing. The massive space battles were especially so fun. I also spent a ton of time in Battlefront 2, both the old and the new one. I thought both of them were amazing in their own way. They're not remotely this similar. But even leading into the new Battlefront 2, I was so caught up in the hype. I bought the Inferno Squadron book and read it before the game came out, so I was like all up to date on the lore. I was like, let's go! It was a good time.
Excellent. I think my favorite Star Wars game would, I guess if I'm looking at just straight nostalgia, would have to be Republic Commando.
So good.
This came out on the original Xbox. So this was before even the Xbox 360 came out. It was a marvel at the time. Like, the graphics were amazing. The gameplay was awesome. It had some drawbacks to it. Like, it didn't have really good multiplayer. Like, the multiplayer is actually pretty bad. And unfortunately, I did actually get a copy of it on Steam, and I tried playing it earlier this year, and it did not go well. It just doesn't integrate with new systems all that well, which was kind of a bummer.
Not.
So I would probably have to say I loved playing Battlefront 2, like the OG one. I loved just doing like an instant action, setting the opposing sides as big as possible. So you could just literally spend like 30 minutes just shooting down the alleyways at droids, Imperial stormtroopers, whatever it was. And then I really liked the new Battlefront 2 as well, but EA locked me out of my account due to an old email address, and EA is the bane of my existence. So I would have said that one, but we're going to give it to the classic Battlefront 2 instead.
Yeah, we're firm believers over here at Talk About Tatooine that EA totally sucks.
They blow.
They can get bent. Anyway, we are here to talk about something that I feel like I have butterflies. I'm so excited. So
It's been so long.
we are here to talk about a new Star Wars game coming out. And it has a release date. Sort of. It has a release year. So I'm like, okay, I just got to make it to 2024 so I can play this new game. We are here to talk about Ubisoft's... Is it Ubisoft? Ubisoft?
I think it's Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. Their new game, Star Wars Outlaws. This really feels like we're finally getting the scoundrel game we've always wanted.
This is going to be a good time. I'm very excited about the open world game. My thought immediately went to Skyrim. Like the last open world game that I really loved was Skyrim.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, Jedi Survivor just recently came out. I don't think either of us have played it, but Outlaws, like you said, is going to be an open world game. This means it's not... You can go literally wherever you want, whether as Jedi Survivor, it is an action-adventure game with a relatively linear storyline. So there's definitely a difference there. It's a totally different kind of game. Outlaws is going to be more of a shooter game, whereas Jedi Survivor is more of a Dark Souls type game. Mm-hmm. What's the genre called?
I just call it Dark Souls. I'm like,
they call it a Soul style battler with lots of dodging and dying, of which I'm so bad at.
Dip, duck, dive, dodge, and die.
Don't you mean dive? No, I do not. I'm definitely excited about this one a lot more because you get a pistol, and I like ranged combat a lot better than melee combat.
I do like being able to shoot stuff. It's going to be very nice. All right, guys, what we're going to do really quick is we are actually going to put the trailer up onto the screen. Then we're going to give you guys our initial impressions. Go ahead and buckle up, grab some popcorn. We got some fun stuff coming your way. Andrew and I are going to give you our initial impressions. So we've both got a lot of different bullet points. I say we just bounce this back and forth. Go ahead and start us off with your first one, and we'll just go down the list.
The music. Oh, I'm just immediately drawn in. John Williams is a genius, and he's the best blessing of my entire life. He's so good. Everything John Williams writes is so iconic, and you can tell what universe you're in. So Star Wars Outlaws has a mix of its own different themes. It has like a really strong theme on the violin that really exudes this emotional response. And then starting out with that arpeggioed harp from Williams' score it makes me feel things. It makes me feel happy things.
Hits me in all the right places.
It floods my brain with the good chemicals, the good little chemies, as the kids probably don't say.
No, yeah, not a chance. I loved that. There was actually multiple times this happened in the trailer, that every time a Star Destroyer comes out of hyperspace, it is either coming out in the middle of a rebel formation and absolutely truck sticking anything in its way, or like you see them like flying their ship through an active space battle, and there's like Nebulon class frigates just like getting snapped in half by Imperial like fusillades. Like, I'm like, I understand that you we're like, okay, Ubisoft is trying to put us right in the middle of the action, but guys, the rebels are getting destroyed. Like, geez, give the rebels a win in some of these cutscenes. Like, it was crazy. Just every single time the rebels are on screen, they're getting absolutely roasted, which is kind of how the war went in the first place. But oh my gosh, like I thought they were the good guys. Like, give them a break. Woof.
Yeah, it's with the advancement of special effects and even practical effects that is used in a lot of these movies, they're like, well, the Star Destroyer is shaped like a knife blade, like an arrowhead. Let's have it run into stuff. And like, I'm glad I wasn't standing up when I saw that scene, because I nearly fainted. I was like, oh my, just anytime. Yeah, go ahead. I
was going to say, well, and speaking of practical effects, it's so cool that they actually had a Star Destroyer come out of real hyperspace and kill real people for that scene. It was really awesome.
Yeah, those stunt people really, their lives were worth being slain in a video game.
We're kidding. No actual rebels were harmed in the making of this podcast.
I don't know what I would classify myself if like I was so playing in Outlaws. It's unclear on whether or not you're going to be able to be an Empire sympathizer or a Rebel sympathizer, or just stay on the straight and narrow. From the gameplay trailer, we actually saw that like you do encounter an Imperial officer, and you can either choose to bribe her or not bribe her, and you immediately have to like bail out on the planet if you don't bribe her, because she's like, fine, you don't pay the tax, I'm going to send my people after you, which is awesome. Like, we've had Edge of the Empire campaigns, which is the Star Wars version of Dungeons and Dragons. We've had Edge of the Empire campaigns where that's exactly what happens. Be like, you encounter the Empire, what do you do? And it's just like, flip off. Get bent, fascist.
Well, in our Edge of the Empire campaigns, I play a Trandoshan called Tiberius Redclaw, and his whole thing is trying to kill as many people as possible, which is funny because in the process, I literally have the least amount of kills in our entire party. So I end up just being a damage sponge, and then you guys are like to whoever's left over, and it just... Yeah, anyways, we try to kill a lot of Imperials, as many as we can, but it's a good time.
We do have a good time. So one thing that I really, really liked from the trailer and also the gameplay trailer as well is the main character, Vess. She is a badass good girl, and she's awesome. I am so excited to step into her shoes and start causing mayhem. Her draw speed, incredible. Like when that one Rhodian who like comes over and was like, what are you doing? She's just like, hey, I'm just here for bang, bang, bang. And even sitting in my seat, I was like, oh, he's so super dead. Like her draw speed, she could be in a Western. Like, she is so cool. I'm so excited to play as her.
I'm super down with it. And you get to see her little, she kind of has two sidekicks, but one of them is her little animal a loath cat?
I don't think so.
Because the only time I can remember seeing a loath cat is in Star Wars Rebels, because they spend most of the series on Lothal. Mm-hmm. And part of me is thinking is like similar to how dogs have like a lot of different types of coats and sizes and shapes and colors and all those things. I'm like, wouldn't they theoretically be able to do the same thing with a loath cat in a fictional universe? I don't know. So I'd be excited if that's a loath cat, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I'm totally down with new fauna in the Star Wars universe. I'm always a fan of how they bring animals into the fictional series.
Yeah, I mean, it could be literally anything. It's a little bit more dog-like, I think, than a cat, but you're right, it does look like a loath cat. But if it was some sort of breed or offshoot, or just, we see that in the Star Wars universe that over time, domesticated animals that look like traditional cats or dogs tend to pop up all over the place. The pet's name, again, we don't know the species. Its name is Nyx, and my note is, every time this little guy shows up on screen, obvious win.
I'm here for it, little Nyx. We could almost get one of those and maybe add one to either your shelf or mine once I actually get my desk cleaned up and it's not literally covered in Warhammer stuff. So, yeah. But if you guys are a fan of this podcast, which most of you are, and most of you who are also Star Wars fans are also Warhammer fans, you guys probably have a setup that looks like this as well. So you guys get it.
Gosh, if you guys could see my desk right now. Oof.
Yeah, you're smart. You keep a lot of yours underneath the view of your camera. Mine's literally like, no, I just pivot my chair, turn around, and then get that stuff done. It's always a good time. I was wondering, so they introduced a few different characters into this trailer. There's a lot going on in just a few minutes. What I had a question. I was like, who's this Jalen guy? Is he going to be kind of like our handler? As far as the game mechanics go, is he going to be the one who's basically dealing out all of our quests? Not really sure. That's kind of what it sounds like, but we'll see.
I'm really excited to see who this guy is and how he influences our story. Is he a partner? Is he someone we work for or we work with? It's unclear. Also, he has a striking resemblance to the Legends character Kyle Katarn.
He does. Yeah. Now that you say that, he totally does.
He's got the outfit. He's got the shoulder pauldron thing. It's technically on the wrong shoulder. He could just move it to a different shoulder.
I was going to say a costume change does not a character difference make. That'd be really cool if they wrote him in as like a relative or something related in close to old Legends characters.
I'm a little unclear on Kyle Katarn's upbringing. The first exposure I had to him was in Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, which was like in my top 5 of all-time favorite Star Wars games. Yeah, I don't really know how he came to be in the Jedi Order. I just knew that he was like one of the more powerful Jedi in the new Jedi Order. One thing that's really growing on me, and I always thought it was really, really cheesy, is made up swear words. So Dank Ferric, it's really growing on me. It's becoming a lot less in my head of like, oh, that is a made up word. And now it's becoming a little bit more of, oh, they're in distress, so they're using these words. Not sure if it's better or worse than Republic Commando's you fat ugly fearfeck, which
it's hard to beat the alliteration. Alliteration is like my favorite literary device. So I'm like, yep, fat ugly fearfeck is way better in my opinion.
Yeah, I do like alliterations. I don't know if I like them more than repetition, but we'll see.
There was a few different, I don't know if you caught this, but throughout the trailer, they show a lot of different crime syndicates in this trailer. And one of them was the Hutts, and they very much showed a Rancor in the trailer, and I'm like, does that mean we get to visit Jabba's palace? I feel like with kind of the tone and the setting of the game, there's a very, very strong possibility we will be making our way to Tatooine, potentially Mos Eisley, and potentially
Tatooine
after that,
is showed in the trailer.
Yeah, and then right on to Jabba's palace. It kind of seems like, if you remember Knights of the Old Republic, for example, there's always like a starting area that you get to go to. So, for example, when you're visiting the planet Kashyyyk, you get to kind of run around on like the upper levels. And then as you get enough quests done, it finally allows you to go into the lower levels, which is where you find the star map, all that fun stuff. And I'm wondering if they'll follow a similar quest. Like you go to Tatooine, you have to do a bunch of quests in Mos Eisley, and then once you've completed enough of the quest line, then you get to go and visit Jabba's palace. I'm kind of wondering if that's the route that they will take with that.
Can you read for our audience exactly what you have written for that bullet point?
Rancor me, daddy!
I saw that and I was like, I wanted to say that. I'll leave it for him. Even more than Jedi Survivor, I probably will buy this game at launch. I definitely prefer open world games a little bit more than action adventure. So I am thrilled for this game. I'm so excited.
100%. It's gonna be great.
I mostly just hope that I'm finished with Hogwarts Legacy and Space Marine 2 by then. Mm-hmm. Also, Starfield is a game coming out on Xbox, and it's free with Game Pass. Starfield, Star Map, Star Quest. It's one of those.
It sounds.
Let me know
just
what
like
it is in the comments.
I was gonna say it sounds like you're just like trying to hit all the buzzwords. You're like, I'll hit it eventually. So
yeah, but that's actually going to be an open world game created by Bethesda, by the makers of Skyrim. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I read the description. I was like, oh, it's by the people who made Skyrim. Pre-download.
Yeah, you're like, I'm getting this on the Xbox right away. Absolutely.
And I won't have to pay for it because Microsoft owns Bethesda and it's going to be on Game Pass. So I'm like, ooh.
I'll just have to renew my Game Pass subscription and I'll be right there with you. So that's going to be super cool. Similar to Skyrim and actually the Fallout series and a lot of other games we get with Bethesda, you are accompanied in the trailer by a Separatist commando droid, and I think this is so cool. Now, raise your hand in the comments if you literally just used your companions as pack mules in other games, because that's all I ever did. I was like, you do not get my good weapons. You do not die. You carry all of my smithing materials, and that is what you are going to do. Thank you so much. I don't know if they're going to have that in this, but that is what I did in every single time I played Skyrim or Fallout. I'm like, hey, look, somebody's going to be able to carry all my crafting stuff with me. Sweet.
Lydia, get over here. I just made 1,000 iron daggers and I need someone to carry them.
I can't quite make the trip 10 feet over to the blacksmith.
Help. I'm over encumbered. I need your help right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love Skyrim. Skyrim is probably in the top 10 of my favorite games of all time.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a fun episode to do, is our top 10 favorite games of all time. We probably could do an episode for just Star Wars games and then all games. Let us know in the comments if that's something you want to see. And we will do whatever you want. Not whatever. Nothing gross.
Unless there's money involved. What? Next point.
Good Lord. Also, I found it really interesting in the trailer. ND, the commando droid, seems a little kind of crazy, because it seems like his definition of trust is not just immediately gunning someone down if they threaten you. Like when you're running away from the Imperial officer in the gameplay trailer, he's like, I told you not to trust her. I was like, did you want me to just kill her? Like, how would that have helped?
I'm getting HK-47 vibes.
HK-47, or even Mr. Bones, which is a psychotic B-1 battle droid, basically reprogrammed to also be sentient. He's created by one of the pilots in the Resistance who dies in episode 9, Wexley, Snap Wexley. That was really sad to see. I'm still butthurt about it. But he replaces this B-1 battle droid's arms with blades. So he's like that little scissor monster from Thor, not Love and Thunder, Korg's friend.
Yeah.
The name will come to me in 18 hours when this is already finished editing. But okay, do you have anything else you want to talk about just from your initial impressions of the trailer?
My last point was just, and I kind of skipped the beat a little bit, is just that there was a lot of dead rebels in this trailer. So many dead rebels.
Yes. No kidding. And we're kind of going to find out why. Can you read us a little bit about, from the Ubisoft website, about when this takes place? And that's going to give us a little bit more context about where during the Galactic Civil War we find ourselves.
All right, guys, from the Ubisoft website, and I quote, experience the first ever open world Star Wars game set between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Explore distinct planets across the galaxy, both iconic and new. Risk it all as Kay Vess, a scoundrel seeking freedom and the means to start a new life along with her companion Nyx. Fight, steal, and outwit your way through the galaxy's crime syndicates as you join the galaxy's most wanted. If you're willing to take the risk, the galaxy is full of opportunity. So, a lot going on there. Kind of sets the scene for what you're going to be doing. They very much are just opening up. They're like, hey, this is our first open world game. I will say, I hope they don't try to do like an MMO thing. Not a huge fan of MMOs. Hopefully, like this is just something we can plan and play our way through. You get to play as Kay Vess, a scoundrel. If you guys are not familiar with this yet, scoundrels are kind of the backbone of the Outer Rim in the Star Wars lore and canon. When you are separated from the hustle and bustle that is the Galactic Center, new rules start to fall into place. Different organizations control different portions of space. You have the Hutts, the Pikes, and even the Zon Consortium from Legends. Don't know if they're going to bring that back. That'd be super cool. Oh my gosh, I would faint. I'd probably pass out. That's much less gross than what I was going to say. You have Maul's criminal empire as well as the Zygerian slavers. One needs to be resourceful to stay alive on the frontier of the galaxy. If this game is going to be as open world as we are hoping it is this basically going to be Skyrim in space? Because if so, I better make it as a streamer because I'm going to be glued to this game.
So one thing... So this episode is going to be mostly positive because I'm so happy. I'm so happy that this is the new Star Wars game. But this is going to come out in 2024. How is this the first time in human history that in the long existence of Star Wars, this is the first totally open world game. Seems like it would have been a slam dunk to do this 20 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago.
You would
But
think.
we are finally getting really what I've been wanting since I was a little kid. I think this game is really going to hit that nostalgia button and really flood our brains with the good chemicals. Like I said earlier, the gameplay trailer is amazing and provides a lot of insight into the actual mechanics of the game and a ton of Easter eggs as well. So let's go through and let's just point out some stuff that we saw in the trailer, both trailers, that we want to talk about. Did you have anything?
You know, I wasn't really looking for Easter eggs. That's actually something I have a really hard time doing in videos, is people are like, I found 97 Easter eggs in this video. And I'm like, what? I saw the things exploding. So I'm not super good at like picking those things out. I have to be like, I'd have to probably watch it like 17 times. So hit me with those Easter eggs.
Well, I found 3 that I thought interesting. I don't know how people sit down and be like, I found 677 Easter eggs in this movie, especially if it's a movie that just came out. I was like, well, you clearly pirated this movie off of somewhere to go through it in this detail. But the first one is in the Pike hangar. You see quite a few different ships. One of them is an A-wing that they're assembling. It's unclear whether or not this was pirated from the Rebels. However, we also see a mining guild TIE fighter. That's the yellow one, which made its debut in Star Wars Rebels. I don't remember which season or episode. I didn't do that much research. I was just like, oh yeah, that's from Star Wars Rebels. It's kind of laying on its side, and it seems like this shop is stripping ships, taking everything valuable of them, and then reselling them for parts. I'm sure there's an actual word for that sort of criminal behavior. Because, I mean, they stole these ships. They did not buy them.
It's a Star Wars chop shop.
It's a chop shop. Thank you. There are several incredibly valuable things. I'm kind of wrapping this up all just as one Easter egg, but there are several incredibly valuable things on the desk where she picks up that egg thing, including we see like a whole tray full of data cards. They're kind of the floppy disk looking things. That's a lot of data cards. I'm sure that's probably what they did is when they went into the ship's nav system and they found where that ship went. You know, you can get a lot of information about just seeing where a ship has gone. They also kind of tease us a little bit because there's like what I'm assuming is a gigantic kyber crystal on that desk. And then she grabs the egg instead. And I'm like, interesting. You have now successfully subverted my expectations in the first 30 seconds of this trailer. For the final Easter egg, I just noticed they're not really Easter eggs. They're just things I noticed. I think we use Easter egg too flippantly. Whatever. We do see that we return to Tatooine, and then we also return to a couple other planets we've seen in Star Wars. I couldn't quite look them up between getting off work and filming this episode, so I don't remember what they were. But we're also going to see some new planets as well. And I loved that you're able to just take off and go straight into space. There's no loading screen. I mean, that atmosphere is a hidden loading screen, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy about that.
All right, guys. So we're going to jump into kind of some things that we saw with the gameplay. Andrew, go ahead and start us off.
I really enjoyed how you're able to use Nyx both in combat and in stealth. I'm not a huge fan of games that are all combat or all stealth. I like being able to choose. That's why I like Skyrim so much, because I ended up just being a stealthy archer, and then at some point in the game I would just pick up swords and I'd just start running at people. Both are fun. Both are crazy amounts of fun, super satisfying. I mean, Skyrim, obviously you would want to be an archer because that's the best class, but like I'm really looking forward to that you can really do whatever you want in this. You can, if you want to just go in guns a-blazing, that's awesome. If you want to take a more technical approach and like use Nyx to like create distractions and move things around so that you can kind of take a more evasive approach, that's awesome. If you want to do not necessarily a pacifist run, but in the gameplay they also show that your blaster will have a stun setting, which I don't think we've ever seen in a Star Wars game before.
They're like, why would you ever want to stun somebody? That's odd.
Are you telling me you don't want to murder these people? They're bad. We're going to let you murder them if you want to murder them. So just murder them. But it's like, not everyone needs to just be straight up murdered. You can just stun them and walk away. So that's from a story perspective. I think that's going to be really fun. It basically gives you a third option for everything, because that's how, especially RPGs like Knights of the Old Republic, if you came down to a conflict and if you really angered someone, you either had to pass a persuasion check to calm them down, or you had to just cut them down. In this one, if you fail your persuasion check and you don't want to kill them, you can just stun them. That's awesome. We like options.
I'm interested to see if they have different like classes of weapons as well, because the Star Wars universe, probably, you guys have heard me say this before, has so many different kinds of weapons. And I'm hoping that like maybe they've got, obviously you've got like your ranged and your melee. Like the first thing that comes to mind is blasters and lightsabers. But a lot of these syndicates, like a lot of times if like these bruisers are going out and they're collecting protection monies and things like that, they don't want to just go out with blasters because they don't want to just murder the people that are paying them. They go out with different forms of like vibroblades, stun batons, lightsabers for, you know, obviously like the Jedi, but then post Order 66, there is a lot of dead Jedi because they all died in Order 66. So that also means that there's probably a lot of lightsabers on the black market as well. So it opens up that possibility. I'd be really interested in seeing kind of a class system that helps you kind of go into either ranged or melee combat. But I'd also love to see different things, like more of the technical perspective. Like there's probably going to be like, if you're leveling up, there should definitely be like a slicing tree. Like you should be able to hack into droids, things like that. I think droid smithing is really cool as well, because if one of your companions is going to be a droid, you should be able to kind of like level up your ability to like give him shields, give him new weapons, like allow him to do different things that helps you spec into different gameplay options as well. I think that'd be really cool. I think it'd be really fun to just have like a blacksmithing option as well, so you could make custom weapons. And I just want there to be a huge variety. Like if you want to go through and find a Zygerian energy bow, like dude, do it. If you want to somehow get a
awesome
disintegration rifle, those are super illegal, but you're playing as a criminal anyway. So like, yeah, of course you should have one of those.
Okay, how funny would it be if you could get an energy bow and just be like, is this just Skyrim with a Star Wars skin? Because now I'm fully spec'd out in stealth and I have a bow.
Like, I better be able to crouch and get that 3 times multiplier, 100%.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, those are some things that we would love to see in the game. It didn't, in the gameplay itself, we didn't see anything about how you will be able to upgrade your character, but we're really looking forward to it. I'm guessing you'll also be able to upgrade Nyx to do more things, retrieve bigger items, to, I don't know, go and bite people. Like in the regular trailer, he bites a guy that's about to shoot Vess, which is, he's the real one. He's a very smart little guy. Is Nyx a boy or a girl?
I don't know.
Do we know? I don't know. Because then if it's a girl, I can be like, yes, where's my Gorl? Spelled Gorl. Where's my little Gorl?
Thank you, Gru.
Also, if you can't pet Nyx, I will snap my disc in half and demand a refund.
Press X to pet.
I want to pet the dog. I want to pet the space puppy. Speaking of Nyx, also, like, your squad just looks awesome. Like, between ND5 and your little furry friend, like, ND5, I'm like, guess what, dude? You better have an awesome carrying capacity, because I'm going to give you so much stuff. We'll see where that goes in the gameplay. ND5 doesn't follow you around. He really sticks on his own and seems to be chilling at a bar for whatever reason. I'm surprised they even let him in. Well, they didn't let him in the back room, but one thing they did show in the actual gameplay is there's a bullet time feature. And in this case, it's when she's on the speeder and you like slow down time and you select your targets. It looks like you could select up to 5 targets, and she just like triple tapped them. Just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They were both gone. That's going to be really, really key for your combat. And hopefully that will be something we can upgrade and provide bonuses for. And because, bullet time is awesome. It was awesome in Fallout. It was awesome in the old Xbox game Gun. If you ever played that one was really fun.
They also
And
technically
it's also
have bullet time in Skyrim as well, because you can spec into, again, we're going to go back to the archer class is the best one, but if you pull back your
Yes.
bow, it slows everything
Yeah.
down, so you can track people and let go. So
Yeah. There's a lot of games that have bullet time. Bullet time is awesome. People love it. It makes you feel like an absolute god. Little G.
I'm here for it.
Let's move into predictions. What are the predictions we have for this game?
So one thing that Ubisoft went through was that your speeder is going to be playing a big role because it's open world. You are going to need to be able to get around very, very quickly. So I'm hoping that you can really level up your gear, not just like the armor you're wearing, the weapons you're using, but also like your tactical gear. Like if I have a slicing pad, I want that to be able to hack into systems. If I'm able to level up my speeder, like I want to be able to like add different like guns, weapons, shields, speed boosts, all these different things to like really, I want to be able to like max out my stuff, because there's a certain level of gratification that comes with like getting to the end of the game and you're like running around in like Daedric armor with a dragonborn or dragonbone longsword. You're like, nothing can kill me.
So I'm going to date myself. Really what you're asking for is, can you pimp your ride?
Yeah. That's the idea. I'm hoping you can.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Those high octane chase scenes looked so cool. I think it's going to be such a blast. My predictions, I don't really know. I don't really know where the story is going to go. My thought is, well, that's more of my expectations, which I'll get to later. But my prediction is that you'll get to meet probably some of the more seedier characters around this time. I 100% expect to meet Lando Calrissian. He would fit in perfect for like where you're at. While he's a reputable businessman, he's also kind of a scoundrel.
Fundamentally a scoundrel.
Fundamentally a scoundrel. Unclear if you'll be able to meet. I mean, be able to meet Han Solo during this time would be awesome. At this point, he is with the Rebel Alliance. He's not a smuggler anymore, so we probably won't see Han.
No, because Han's in Carbonite. You see him in the trailer in Carbonite.
Oh, right.
Because it's between episode 5 and 6. And they're like, oh, I wonder what that slab of Carbonite with a face is. You're like, yeah, that's Han Solo for sure.
It's probably Han Solo, yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think it's absolutely Han Solo. So that's it for our predictions. Let's talk about our expectations for the game. So what are the things that you would think that this game is missing out on if it didn't include?
I'm going to have an interesting answer for this, because I actually think they should omit the ability to use the Force. I think they should completely disregard the Force. You should be able to interact with Force users. Like you should run into a few that are like stowaways, or like, Force users still exist even after Order 66. But I think this character should be completely devoid of Force powers. I want it to be like, this is a regular vanilla human. Nothing special, like, except her abilities to be an outlaw. Not like, oh, I can mind trick somebody and that's why my persuasion is so good. It's like, nope. It's like, I want this person to be vanilla at the beginning, and then you get to spec up from there.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. In a universe where Force powers are amazing and fantastic, it's awesome to see characters who don't have the Force still show how badass they can be.
Agreed.
Like, I don't know, all of the Mandalorians.
Oh, like, imagine if you could craft Beskar armor.
I feel like I need to invest in a fainting couch if these things are going to happen.
If they're going to have like that legendary appeal to like, hey, like everybody knows, like once you get to a certain level in like an open world game, you're like, hey man, have you gotten like this piece of gear yet? It's like, hey man, have you gotten like that Mando chest plate yet? You'd be like, I hope so. What? So I think that would be really cool. Also, I did say that I hope that there are no Force powers, but I would still like the opportunity to craft a lightsaber.
I think that would be very cool, because the way a non-Force user uses a lightsaber is fundamentally different. And even in Star Wars The Clone Wars, they don't do a good job representing the lightsaber, because General Grievous is actually able to deflect blaster bolts, which he's not force sensitive. He shouldn't be able to do that. You can only deflect blaster bolts if you have the ability to use the force and have that quick precognitive sight, and also the reflexes to match. If Kay Vess gets a lightsaber, she's going to be using it in fundamentally different ways than a Jedi. She's going to be using it more as just a regular sword, but also like it's incredibly dangerous to her because she doesn't have the force to not, cut off her own arm on the backswing.
Yeah. It's not like there's a dull edge for a lightsaber.
Yes. It is an omni-edged weapon.
Although there are different videos I've seen some speculation where people actually say that there is an edge to the lightsaber based on how it behaves on different materials throughout the movies. And as much as I like those theories, I think that's more based on the discrepancies in directing, not the what if we play around with the fact that a lightsaber has an edge? And you're like, no, it does not have an edge. No one has thought that, nor ever will.
Yeah, we did it for the Darksaber, but that's the only one. Everything else has a cylindrical blade. Move on.
And it's very clearly it has an edge. Which technically, if you hit somebody with the flat side of it would still cut them, maybe. It's a plasma sword, so
yeah, the edge is totally
aesthetic.
Unnecessary.
Do you want to go over any of your expectations?
Yeah, really the only expectation I have, I'm hoping, I said this is a movie in my notes. It's not a movie, it's a game. I hope that this game is Rebellion adjacent. If the story turns out to be, oh, you're a smuggler, but you become so jaded against the Empire and wanted by them that you just are forced to join the Rebellion, I won't be disappointed, but that's also not that original. That is the origin story for most people in the Rebellion. Like, the Rebellion has a lot of smugglers. I guess I would be okay if we were given that option, but if I want to stay truly neutral, I also want that option. Or if I want to be a total scumbag and side with the Empire, I want to be able to do that too.
I like that. Having options would be really nice. I think it would be cool to not necessarily have your end game be like, oh, I'm going to work with the rebels or I'm going to work with the Empire. But it would be cool to have a couple of side quests where you end up doing something. And then maybe as you're flying off planet, it gives you a cutscene. And then you see oh, this action directly affected the Empire. Oh, this directly affected the rebels in a positive way. I think that would be kind of cool. So you're tangentially helping out one side or the other. And that's probably what's going to happen. But not necessarily being I'm going to be an Empire, or I'm going to be an Imperial now. I'm going to be an Empire. I'm going to be an Imperial now, or I'm going to be a rebel. It's nope. I think you should mostly be staying on, as you said, the straight and narrow, which is a funny way to describe an outlaw and a criminal, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be really cool to also be able to side with other factions. Hey, it's hey, do I want to work for the Pikes or do I want to work for the Hutts? In the same way that in the Fallout series that you can choose between the Brotherhood of Steel, or in Skyrim you can choose between the Nords and the Empire. I want to be able to choose different factions, and not just two. I don't want it to be a choice between one or the other. I really want it to be a multifaceted faction system that we can choose from. Dude, let's get to the news. We're almost done with this episode. There's a couple pieces of news we really want to hit you with.
All right, Andrew, hit us with that first one.
So, Ubisoft, the developer that's also doing Star Wars Outlaws, has released footage for Avatar, the Blue People Avatar video game. It's the Na'vi. Honestly, the gameplay looks a little bit rough. The landscape is awesome, but the movement of the characters and creatures and fauna, it looks really harsh and kind of jump cutty and a little bit almost robotic. It's not very fluid and organic. I'm sure they'll fix that. However, they only have 6 months to fix it because they gave us a launch date of December 7th. But hopefully by then they have everything figured out and you'll be able to live out your dream as being an eco-terrorist and fighting off the colonizers.
That's going to be fun.
It like legitimately, it does look really fun.
I will say I am skeptical of movies that become games. I'm always skeptical. I think that has had a really rough time transitioning from cinema to video games because there's such different expectations in both of them. So I'm interested to see how that goes, but I would maybe play it. I'll consider it for sure. I just watched The Way of Water this week and I actually liked it, mostly because I didn't have to pay for it in the theaters, but I can give a mini review. I can give a mini review on a future episode. So then we have two kind of really, really big things that happened this week. The first one, this happened today, June 16th, 2023. Warhammer 10th edition, or I should say Warhammer and Games Workshop has released the field manual or the points manual for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. So we now have our data sheets. We now have our points. We have our core rules. We are ready to play. And to update you guys, we have officially decided that our next Warhammer game, which we're playing next weekend, a week from tomorrow, is going to be in 10th edition. So we are done playing in 9th edition. We're going into 10th. It's going to be wild. There's some cool stuff. And we are actually going to be covering a lot of those points changes in a live stream today, which you guys won't obviously see this episode the day it airs, but we're going to be doing it live over on Twitch, and then we're going to post that over on YouTube as well. So you guys will be able to see that in whichever format that works out best for you. So we're going to be covering all of that. There's a lot to go over.
It's going to be awesome. Like we said, we are huge fans of RTSs. StarCraft 2, is one of our old reliables. It's still really fun. We do the co-op mode a lot. However, Stormgate, which is being developed by Frost Giant, thankfully, Blizzard has some really problematic staff, and it sucks that they made a really fun game. If they hadn't made a really fun game, we'd be like, oh, I guess I'm not going to support them. I think Barney just fell off the couch. I just heard a bunch of claws. I'm like, they're not fighting. I think someone maybe knocked on the door or something. But the new Stormgate alpha gameplay came out, and just to let everybody know, this is probably almost going to be unrecognizable to the final product, because StarCraft 2, the alpha gameplay, looked like StarCraft 1, and by the time we got StarCraft 2, totally different game. Totally different. Everything was more different. It was more gritty, although Stormgate is a much brighter gameplay, aesthetically, so I think it's going to be really fun. I mean, we're probably going to play this on day one as well. It's got at least 3-player co-op.
So excited.
Which we also found out that Space Marine 2 is going to have 3-player co-op, which we run a squad of 3 right now. And there was so much caps lock in our Discord chat. We were like, guys, it's happening.
They finally, it's like game developers everywhere finally got their head out of the ground, and they were like, oh, people have friends still? We have gone over that and ranted extensively about that on this podcast. I won't do that now, but I'm very hyped. I'm very excited for all of this.
Yes, I have friends, and it's rude that you assumed I didn't. I think that's all we got for the news here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Nathan, hit us with that outro.
Everyone listening, we love you so much. You are all beautiful. You are all smart, unless you decided to do dumb things, but we're also happy you are here anyways. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure that if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, you guys are liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification button. That actually really helps us out, guys. Currently, as of recording this episode, we are at 95 subscribers. We would like to get 5 more to break triple digits. Please help us out here, guys. We're trying to do a ton of new things. Subscribers does help. It really shows us how many people are actually listening to the podcast. So make sure you guys do that. If you guys are listening to this in audio form, so whether or not that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you guys listen, please leave us a positive review if you like it. If you don't like the podcast, then just stop listening. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Or let us know things we can change.
Yes, constructive criticism is good. Andrew doesn't take it super well, but I will take it okay. I'm just kidding. I think last time I made that joke, I think I was like, believe I specifically said I'm not accepting criticism at this time. So that's fun. Anyways, guys, we're super happy you guys are listening. Thank you guys for just spending your time with us right now. We're already past the hour mark, so this is just a lot more work that we're going to be doing. We're going to edit this down, but make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe, do all those things, so that way the algorithmic overlords will slice this video into the feeds of other like-minded viewers. And until then, may the Force be with you.